Hello again, Ancestry cousins and inquiring minds. This video is going to be about my great-grandfather, my second great-grandfather, Wyatt Presley Raper. Now, he was born in Jamestown, North Carolina in 1848, but he died in Guilford County, North Carolina in 1930. Now, Wyatt Presley Raper, his name would change, but they called him Uncle Press. So in 1870, he's Presley Raper, 23, a farm laborer living in Jamestown, North Carolina, with his mother, Alice Raper, who's 47. In 1880, he's Press Raper, 32, a mulatto, laborer, married to Mary Raper, who's 19. Two children, Jaleesa, 7 months, and Jassy, 2. Mother Alice is 60, still living with them. Family history states Wyatt and Mary were married July 5th, 1876, but I have no record that I found any record online that I've been able to save to my tree. I do have a record of a marriage to his second wife, which is in my tree. In 1900, Wyatt P. Raper is 51, owns his farm. On his census, Ellen Mitchell, which is Mary Raper, Mary J. Raper, his wife, is listed living with them too. So I found in Guilford County Archives history, business of Guilford County landowners circa 1886. You have to, it's Esther first. So they tell me he was colored. Raper Presley in Jamestown owned 12 acres. So I was like, so then I found, where's the other one? I didn't save it to my tree right. So I had to go to newspapers, and I found the newspapers had saved the clipping for me. So it's just why I keep saying, save, save, save. You keep hearing me in my videos say, make sure you save it to somewhere that's not online, where a source that you can keep to. I had saved it on my tree, but I didn't save the source, where the source came from, which is, I'm kind of meticulous about those things, where the source was. So the source was the Greensboro Patriot, Wednesday, April 10th, 1895, and it has Presley Raper owns 4 acres, so he's down 8 acres between 1886 and 1895. And of course, I have images on my tree of maps. No story would be complete for me without a map, so I could know exactly where they were. And on these maps that I found in 1894, Jamestown map shows Roy Cole, Tom Cole, and Wyatt Presley Raper living near the colored church. And that's on that map. It's on my tree. Also, I have a Google map image of the area of where the church and the school are located. So first, I'm going to go to this book. Is called Deep River Friends, a local history books. We're talking about local history books. We may be surprised that we would be in different history books. And this is Deep River Friends. And this is one of the stories that I wanted to tell about my family's interaction with, Deep River Friends, who are Quakers. Okay, so when I Google this book, I get it from Internet Archives. I do donate to Internet Archives because I use their sources a lot. It's an online site, so I do donate once a year to Internet Archives. So when I go into there, you could go in and you do a search, and I just search Raper. And it's page 46. It says the Briggs family lived near the homes of the Coles, the Williamses, and the Rapers of the Florence community. From the very beginning, a feeling of mutual respect set the tone of good relationships through the decades. Oscar Cole has said that no one would sell land to the black people until A.E. Richardson, who was born on Penny Road and a member of the High Point Friends meeting, became instrumental in helping the black community negotiate the acquisition of deeded land. Presley Raper was one of the first black landowners in the Florence community. After that, an elementary school and Turner Chapel AME were built. So I'm going to stop it right there. Go down for a second. I'm going to type in Cole just to go to, because I don't think that we have. So I'm going to scroll now and go to the codes I know. So in my tree. So John, this is page 36. John also remembered Kermit code. Kermit was the caretaker at the meeting when John came. John said one of his first encounters with Kermit was on a Thursday when he came by to tell John that he was going to his wife's house. John found out that Kermit was a newlywed and he was excited about going into town to see his wife. Kermit was a hard worker who did his custodian job with joy. John could often hear him singing and talking to himself while he was cleaning around the meeting house. He was a special part of Deep River. That was sweet to me. Okay, so I'm going to go down. All right, this is the last one on page 48. Mary Evelyn can remember when the upping block, a stack of 2 boulders, was located in its original placement in the meadow in front of the meeting house. The main road approached Deep River at that point. The upping block was where the buggies would unload and where the women would dismount from horseback. When the State Highway Department built a road to Greensboro by the front of the meeting house, the upping block was moved to its present location on the north side of the meeting house. It was no longer needed in its original purpose. It took Roy Cole's team of mules and several men to roll the heavy rocks up the slope. Oscar Cole was a young boy and remembers being on hand to help. So that's the Quaker Deep River Friends book, 1754 through 2004, and it was published in 2004, and it mentions 3-4 family members in that book. So I'm going to move to an article, and it's a long article, big article, full page, but I find a few articles about this community. It was a 3-page, a 3-week consecutive full-page article that was written telling stories about my family, but I'm going to start with this one. This is from the Sunday, April 15th, 1956, the Greensboro Daily News. Man who had never been a teacher before, the teacher tells how he founded Florence School 45 years ago. He floated into the community. He said, bye. Okay, so editors note, the Greensboro Daily News take pleasure in presenting herewith the most unusual article about the founding of the Florence community approximately 45 years ago. This school for Negro children is located near Guilford Station. The manuscript mailed from Los Angeles was entirely unsolicited. The article is recommended reading. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Jesus. It's light and my eyes are not great. By Leon Harris. Some 6 months ago, I noticed a brief news item in the Los Angeles Daily. Dateline, Greensboro, North Carolina. It read that a white parent of the Guilford Florence community of Guilford had made 2 attempts to enroll his children in the community's Negro school. The item also stated that previously 34 white persons of this community had signed a letter to the County Board of Education suggested that any Negro pupils who applied individually for admission to their school, the white school, should be accepted. These unusual happenings in a North Carolina rural community interested me. They happened at the beginning of the second school term following the Supreme Court decision outlawing school racial segregation. Some residents of the community must have been wanting integration. But why? Why so different from the people of southern rural communities? So it says, taught at Florence 3 years. I don't know yet, though I went back down there. Wait a minute, did I miss something? Okay. All right. I don't know yet, though I went down there to find out, I moan. I know all the answers. No one can or ever will know all of them. But as humbly as I can, I want to recite some of my experiences. Probably you church people down there, you believe legalized racial segregation is unchristian, will be encouraged. Probably some of you faithful rural school teachers down there whose service is slightly appreciated and your faithfulness so cantily rounded, something, I don't know, will be encouraged. I said I went down there, I did, because 44 years ago, I taught that Florence Community Negro School. I taught 3 terms, 1912 through 1914. During that time, I lived and farmed in the community. I floated in there by chance. I was not a school teacher. I was in my early 20s. I had a wife and a 5-year-old daughter. I had no money. I had come up hard, very hard. The first home I could remember was of an Ohio orphanage time. Okay. Then at the age of 8, I was given away to a white family in Kentucky Hills. At the age of 12, I left them. Since then, I had been on my own, studied at Tuskegee. After wandering around a couple of years, I had succeeded in getting in 3 terms of school at Tuskegee Institute. My trade was agriculture. Unable to graduate, I had wandered north to Iowa. I hoped eventually to go to Iowa State, Dr. George W. Carver's school. But I had no home and no known relatives, nothing and nobody but the Lord. I married before I was 18. I needed a home. That was the end of the school education. I worked for a construction outfit in the Midwest. My boss got a better job down south. We liked each other and he persuaded me to follow. Our first job was near Danville, Virginia. I didn't last long as a construction worker in the South. I know too much for a Negro. Negro construction workers were usually illiterates. Most of them got drunk and gambled away their wages over Saturday night. The straw bosses cursed me and called me names, abused me. Caught train headed south. I quit the job and started working for a good Christian building contractor. Then it rained. Rain. Some weeks I didn't earn enough money to buy food for my family. One morning, I took my lunch and started for the job. It began raining. As I neared the railroad track, the freight train was slowly approaching, going north. I boarded it. 3 hours later, Mr. Blair, at that time, I believe, collector of the Internal Revenue Service, helped me to fill the silo of the Blair Dairy Farm a mile or so south of High Point. I worked for the Blairs several weeks. My family joined me. Then I got another job, Mr. Lyons and Blair's manager, who was a graduate of the Agriculture College of New Hampshire. It's a long article. I go all back to the South. Okay. Wanted to start farming on his own in the South. He rented a farm in the Florence community from Dr. H.C. Fitz of High Point Dentist. Looked me up and asked me to come work for him. All right, I'm going to skip down through a little bit. Oh, okay, so right here. So after he moved in that house, that night, the Lindsay boys called. They lived nearby. They were our first visitors. My wife inquired about the Negro church. They told us it was a mile distant, off to Sunday school. But we don't have church tomorrow, one of them said. We have church once a month. But it was a Sunday, don't you? But you have a Sunday school, don't you? No, we only have Sunday school on preaching Sundays. We arose early Sunday morning and did the chores. After breakfast, Gertrude, my wife, and I remarked, getting ready and let's go to Sunday school. Henrietta, our 5-year-old daughter, had hardly ever missed attending Sunday school. Her mother always taught her lessons. Going to the Sunday school meant for her a period of happiness. We shouldn't deprive Henrietta of Sunday school, Gertrude said. Let's go. And if they have no Sunday school, we will start one. Wife played the organ. We slipped inside the little Florence Community Methodist Church. Gertrude had a songbook in our Sunday school quarterly, and she sat down at the organ and started playing the tune of the familiar hymn. This, I told you, this is a long article. And we sang. Uncle Presley Raper appeared. He lived nearby with his wife, 2 daughters, and a stepdaughter. His eyes bulged. Have Sunday school? He asked. Yes. We'll have Sunday school every Sunday. I go all the way back up. Morning. Don't you want to join us? You bet I do, Uncle Press said. You all just hold back a minute till I go and get my folks up here. Praise the good Lord. The next Sunday morning, 30 people attended. School lasted over 2 hours. Uncle Press told all the white folks about our Sunday school and about us. He was the same as a preacher. He knows all about the Bible, and his wife knows still more. She can play the organ too. I told him, talking about him. His work was blessed. This Sunday school experience was the beginning of the work we were privileged to do in the Florence community. Work then needed to be done so badly. Work was so wonderfully blessed. Our Sunday school became more and more interesting. We hated, I'm gonna run out of time. We hated to see our hour come to and close. Then one day, when all left early to attend a baptizing, I asked them to return to the church in the evening, and we will have a night school. So I'm gonna scroll down because it's a long article and I want to get to something else. Okay, so he said the white people became interested. Brother George Woods and wife was the first white visitors. They participated in the reading and of course made the honor seats. And no white person who had ever attended Bible reading refused to occupy the honor seat beside the colored person. So let's see. Go down again. So one day, John joined, so that he talks about, because I read the article before a couple of times, he talks about how the community basically forced him to go get his teacher's permit. They actually drove him there and he passed. Okay. So we're going to get back to the family. Also teaches farming. Aunt Nancy Raper, Uncle Press's wife, this is his second wife, was the first there. She had been begging for a year to teach her to read her Bible. So she had been asking to learn how to read her Bible. Within 2 weeks, I had approximately 20 adult pupils. Some were in their 20s and 30s, some were much older. Later one night, we were discussing modern methods of farming. I had produced a large crop of Irish potatoes that year. Go back up. And a crop of potatoes ever produced in the community. I had sold them at a good price. I'm going to scroll down. Now, white people were interested. The white people began to come. The Negroes would invite them and urge them to come. Usually most of them would stand at the door and open windows. One night I was talking about geography. To better explain the subject, I asked all to come outside. There was a bright full moon. On the smooth ground before the schoolhouse door, I drew a large map of North Carolina. On my map, north was really north, not at the top. There was, we find it when a map was drawn on the paper or blackboard. So when you go out of North Carolina, this direction I explained, you go to Virginia, then you go to Pennsylvania, then you go to New York, and then you go to Canada. It was the plainest geography lesson anyone could have taught. Some white people were in the group. Some asked questions. I wonder if it was an integrated school, an integrated class. White family learns to read. See, we don't know this stuff. This is one of the reasons why when they keep remaking this story about roots, it just irritates me. I'm like, everybody got a story, and that's not my story. That's his story. Okay, that's his story. That's not my story. That may not be your story. What's your story? The white family learns to read. The white tenant farmers calls our home one night originally. He had come up the Blue Ridge. He had a large family. We talked at random for a while. Professor, I hear you've been having pretty good luck teaching these old colored folks to read and write. How about giving me some lessons? I seized the opportunity and gave him his first lesson, and then and there, that when I taught every adult member of his family. Gertrude was good at needlework. She was always trying to learn more about the art and visited the homes of some elderly white ladies often. I found out afterwards that while they taught her some crochet patterns, she taught and brushed up some of them with the 3 R's. Everybody, white and colored, attended the biggest corn shucking we had in our community. When every ear was shucked, supper was ready for us. Everyone knew the pattern of procedure. There was the bench outside the door, and the wash pans and towels for the white men. After bench pans and towels for the colored men, the white men were served in the dining room. We were served in the kitchen. There were usually 2 tables for both. After washing my hands, I entered the kitchen and started to sit down at the table. Our host called from the dining room, "Come in here, Professor. You've got to eat here." I walked inside the dining room. In a seat near the center of the table, a white man sat beside me. Our host called again, "Here, Press." Gotta go all the way up to the top. "Uncle Press, come in here, Press. Sit there at the head of the table. I want you to ask the blessing." Uncle Presley Raper asked the longest blessing I have ever heard, and he prayed everybody, sick or well, for our schools and churches. And every time I read something like this, I kind of get emotional because it just be like, history it just depicts something so horrible all the time. But you got to know it's not like that always. I should have had my tissue in here. This is hard. All right, I'm going to do this last article. So these articles are after he passes, so this one is right after he passes. This article is called, where did I get it from? 25th of March, 1930, Greensboro. It's probably from the Greensboro. I'll figure it out. I might post it in the link. Negroes are fined. Oh, I made it too big. Negroes are fined for being drunk and fighting at Jamestown funeral. Greensboro Daily News Bureau. Okay, there we go. It's so dark. High Point, March 24. Uncle Presley Raper remains from his animus had shuffled from 12 hours before we duly ensconced at the place of honor in the Florence Negro Church near Jamestown yesterday. The congregation was present and the staff of ministers was about to make a public inventory of the deceased attributes and accomplishments when suddenly, through a cracked window, the breezes wafted in an unfuneral-like sound, followed by the unmistakably thud of a fist and another and another. The congregation was more or less amazed, and a few of the church leaders, including the deacon and 2, hurriedly summoned support in the person of Deputy Sheriff H.D. Stout of High Point, who arrested 3, Avery Clayton, Arthur McCollin, and James McCabe. The officer testified this morning that the 500 or more who gathered to pay their last respects to Presley Raper, there was many in a state of intoxication and fled when they found the law at what was intended to be a private funeral. Avery paid $25 and the cost of being drunk and disorderly. May paid $5 and cost of being drunk, and Arthur McCollin and Avery paid the cost each of the fray following hearing held today before Magistrate E.A. Woodall. Reports from the church indicate that the funeral was finally and successfully held that Uncle Presley was safely interred, and there was enough interest left in the unusual interrupted services, however, to bring out much of the congregation to the trial in the magistrate's court this morning. So after they had that fight at church, people went to the courthouse to be like, what happened? What was this about? So that was, interesting. I had something else I wanted to say about him, but I forgot now. So there are other newspaper articles. It's actually a 3-day, it's long articles talking about the Florence community, and that long article that I was reading from, that was part of it. So that's probably break it down to 2 pages. So that's my my second great grandfather, Wyatt Presley Raper. He comes from he lived in Jamestown, North Carolina, but he was born in Davidson County. So I could do a prequel, because I do know the slave master, because I found him in a will, and I could do a prequel from where they came from or why they migrated, that family migrated from Davidson County to High Point, because I could see that in the history. It's kind of interesting to me, because I'm really just creating these stories for me and people that are interested. I'm not expecting to get a big YouTube following about this. I'm trying to connect to people, to motivate people, because I actually use this doing this genealogy stuff as a way to keep my mind busy, because it's busy work. It's investigative work. I'm looking through a lot of newspapers. I'm looking through a lot of documents. I'm trying to learn the history of an area. I'm reading through books. It's, for me, it's not just to put what you find on Ancestry, the census, the city directories. I wouldn't get in and know what you was doing, where you lived at, what the area looked like. Can I use a Google map and zoom in and see your house? Yeah, I'm nosy like that, and I be all up in the business. So, Ancestry Cousins and Inquiring Minds, thank you for watching, and I will be putting these links in so you can go in and read some of them for yourself. Thank you.